try to avoid the hyperbole that's so easy to fall into these days when it comes to companies like Disney, and very specifically Disney. Let's just sum it up by simply saying that things don't look very good for them right now. Well, and of course, tech in a broad way doesn't look great at the moment, but there's other reasons for that. When it comes to entertainment properties, though, Disney has some very specific problems. And let me start off by saying, no, I don't think Apple is going to buy Disney like our friend Matt McGloin was suggesting 2 years ago over on Cosmic Book News. In fact, that was pretty laughable then. The idea of moving Disney World has been pretty laughable over the course of the last couple of months. And let's just suffice it to say that's probably not going to happen. Neither of those things anyway. I do, however, think that Disney is in trouble. I actually think that that's a good thing. It's going to help them in the long term because people have been calling them out about a lot of terrible things that is happening within their very confines. I think we need to continue to point out the agenda-driven companies, all of them, not just Disney, and the activists within those companies, until the woke madness itself is driven out and left in an unfunded, blathering mess that is crying quietly over in the corner. Okay, so there's a little hyperbole. I'm sorry. Let's take a look at it. Here we go. I'm sure you've noticed outside of the quarterly report that just was a week or so ago that Disney has been avoiding the news like the plague. And let me tell you, it's probably a good strategy. They're doing everything that they can to stay well away from the news cycle. Even the quote-unquote planned leaks, like the new Snow White costuming choices or image that we've recently seen, has been met with a substantial amount of criticism. Of course, that film and all of the upcoming remakes that are very similar to that are all being met with some very similar criticisms in and of themselves. The audience hates the dramatic changes that are being made over their fan favorite characters that they grew up with over the course of a lifetime, or in some cases, multiple generations of people in their family. Especially since they are driven and characterized by the woke garbage that has been permeating pretty much all of culture by this infinitesimally small parasite that is, the woke folks. The criticism is fair, no matter what you think. It's fair. That's the takeaway from it. There's no other way to look at it. You are fundamentally changing the classics to force agenda-driven nonsense onto your audience. And the audience doesn't want it. Now, when you say that, you're going to start getting bombarded, and I probably will, by a bunch of straw man arguments that come knocking as fast and as furiously as they possibly can. And when they fail to make a point that's, easily disproved, they start in with the ad hominem attacks, and then they lose whatever point they were trying to make in the first place. And of course, the minute you do that, you're losing credibility, and that just is the playbook that we can just see play out over and over and over again. Of course, we've wandered well away from the main topic here, which is the continuing march southward of Disney's market influence. It's not been very pretty. The quarterly report that was made on May 11th revealed even more of the shell game that streaming overall actually is, especially when you're considering just the nascent manner of Disney Plus out there in the offering. The one-time write-off of the licensed content that was solely in an effort to expand the catalog of Disney Plus basically just revealed how hollow the offerings are that many critics have been citing when it comes to Disney Plus for a long, long time. The increase in the consumer spend for the company overall, at least in the parks, has been another rob Peter to pay Paul kind of a move that will come back to haunt them, well, down the road, or even maybe possibly in the near future. Why? The erosion of the goodwill that you had from your customer base at the theme parks that had been locked up for months. They were desperate for a vacation. And because of the strategies that are currently being utilized by the company to extract every available cent from the theme park guests, well, that's delivering a very unsatisfying experience. It's going to limit return visits for years to come as people spend exorbitant sums just to experience 3 or 4 attractions during the course of a given day, because Disney has turned their theme parks into a pay-to-play scenario, which, believe me, will become more and more off-putting to guests. It's gonna bite them hard. Now, while the parks obviously, as far as their earnings, look very, very good, and the subscriber numbers were supposedly up, and I'm using quotes there for a reason, because don't pay any attention to any Hulu bundling, ESPN bundling, or any other kind of bundling shenanigans that were going on. Oh, and by the way, the $1 Hulu doesn't mean anything in the next quarter. Of course it does. That type of maneuvering just isn't sustainable. Eventually, it's going to catch up with you, just like the theme park thing is going to catch up with you sooner rather than later. Now, worse yet, they actually know all of the things that I just told you, and they know they're very, very bad for the company and its future. So as I said, they've gone quite quiet, and that's a strategy that they should have had from the very beginning. And it's probably one that Jeff Morrell likely recommended before ultimately walking away after his advice was handily ignored by Chapek and the powers that be within the leadership at Disney. And of course, the stock price sinks further. Just a few weeks ago, I made a guest appearance over on the Sci-Fi For Me TV's channel. It was a great podcast show, and they do it regularly, and it is a wonderful thing to behold. The show was called Live from the Bunker, number 404, on a Money Monday, and it talks specifically about Disney collapsing, ? Now, the observations of this panel were all focused on the continuing trend of Disney alienating its customers and investors alike simultaneously. You can check out the podcast here. I will, of course, link it also in the description down below. And as an aside, do check out the channel because it's great. They do phenomenal stuff over there, and it's incredibly professional. It looks amazing, and believe it or not, as a panelist, it's amazing to be on. So if you ever get the opportunity, do that. Now, none of the issues that we spoke about specifically during the course of the show have been resolved as of yet. The stock still continues to swirl the drain. Disney is still down over $60 billion in market value, and it's declining almost every single day. In fact, as you can see here, it's hovering a little over $102, and that's fluctuated throughout the day. Going into when you're watching this video, I'm not sure what it's doing at market open, but my image in my head is that it's going to trend downward throughout the course of the rest of the week. And so are tech stocks and probably anything tied to, well, interest rates going forward. So cheap money isn't going to be there. So some of these companies that are relying on ESG are going to be, well, in trouble, so to speak. But that's an aside. We'll get to that another day. Right now, if you look at it, since the show that I was on with these wonderful professionals over on Sci-Fi TV For Me, the stock price has dropped another $8. That was going back to May 2nd. Again, before May 11th, when the stock quarterly report came out to the investors and things were revealed. 102.80 is not a good number. So the hits keep coming when it comes to Disney, and well, you also have the release of Lightyear on the horizon, which supposedly has its reinstated Alphabet Agenda storyline back within the film. Once again, the leaked videos from the Reimagined Tomorrow garbage are going to rear their ugly heads and pop back into focus, and that'll likely be pointed at multiple times as we get closer and closer to that film's release, and again, the storyline that is contained within. There's going to be more controversy, more noise, and fewer customers. That's going to be a problem. Right now, other companies are running away from politics in the course of doing business publicly, and that's a very wise choice indeed. There is no upside, and the locusts pushing the crap cripple or destroy the company that they're inside of for as long as they specifically are being catered to. More on that in a minute. When they are not being catered to, of course, at the end of the day, they don't have any financial contribution to the sales in any form of purchased goods or even services. In fact, if there is any, it's very minimal and not likely anything that's going to change your bottom line in any way, one way or the other. Disney right now is the poster child of letting the locusts in the door. It has harmed their business in immeasurable ways, and the loss of the special district in Florida is key among those. But at the federal level, they'll likely lose their copyright extension that they were looking for after the midterms, which would essentially be putting Mickey's earliest possible iteration, like Steamboat Willie and such, out in the public domain, I believe as early as 2024. That's something that you can't ignore. It does start to bring all of that right out there very soon. That's a big loss for Disney. And if you've noticed, I've been using the word locust several times within the course of this video, and I'm doing that intentionally because, well, a recent thread was put together by our friend Eric July, and well, the locust factor in there as well. I'm going to close reading that right now, and then we'll hopefully get to your thoughts in the description section down below. But here's from Eric's thread right here. A thread. I've talked about this many times on various videos, but let's discuss it here. The social justice authoritarian left is the worst demographic of people to hire or attempt to have as your primary customer. Let me explain. The main goal is to spread and legitimize their social views. They do not care about your bottom line, your product, your service, your success. Your business brand is only a means to an end, and they will do the bare minimum to prop it up only if it benefits their activism. So to cater to them is to cater to an audience that will never be satisfied because they don't care about your good or service. To hire them in hopes to keep them off of your back is to let in a locust, and you've essentially handed your business to them. This is why they are often economic hypocrites. Having prominence and economic power is permissible if your business is aiding them, but if you are a political enemy, it is to be demonized. You can call them hypocrites all day long, but that's irrelevant to them. Only morally principled people care if they're hypocrites. The social justice left, however, only cares about their end game. Though they've infiltrated almost all industries, I've said the entertainment industries is the easiest one to correct. Many commentators on this subject rely too much on external factors, such as ESG. I believe this is a cop-out because it presents this issue as if the outcome is inevitable. I reject hyper-emphasizing things as such because we've not even addressed what we can do. He makes a lot of great points. A big difference between the social justice left and the people they deem as their political enemies is discipline. The social justice left, as unreliable as they might be, simply will not fund or support the brand of their political enemies. They shun them endlessly. But their enemies, conservatives, libertarians, etc., will not normally defund entertainment properties. In fact, they'll spend a lot of time trying to justify or say, well, what about you? Thus, why the problem goes unaddressed. The social justice left depends on your funding. This is why it seems like this SJW stuff has amplified. Well, it has. They'll have a failed project or two, but largely they've seen little economic consequence to publicly spitting in the face of their political enemies. If the course will correct, this has time to be fixed. Well, I agree with him there, but I've looked at the comic industry, and that's where a lot of people walked away, and we've watched that thing fail hard. So there you are. In a much more freer world, we wouldn't have to worry about the socio-political views of the idiots in control of a good or service. Unfortunately, we aren't there. And entertainment has suffered because of it with trash material and a mafia-esque work environment. Unfun for all. Non-leftists have to get out of the mindset of, I just want to consume, and become more mindful if they want this to end. I believe it's a waste of time to attempt to change the old back to neutral business. You're better off mocking them and competing with them. Wow, strong statement. Not wrong. The standards have got so lowered that non-leftists see it as a victory when an entertainment brand simply doesn't slap you in the face with something that is insanely leftist. But those successes fund other failures, and they still will never present you in a positive light. So don't hire these weirdos, and when you can, have some discipline and refuse to fund those weirdos for an extended period of time. Let's see what happens once they suffer economically and are replaced by decent alternatives that don't openly despise you. And of course, the immediate reply to that is absolutely accurate. They don't have any money anyway. Wow, Eric July is on fire. It's 100% right. And I don't often get political on my channel, and I don't know that that was actually political, but it does point out a lot of things, and it points out a path forward for all of us. So thank you, Eric July, for that brilliant thread on Twitter the day before yesterday. And with that, what do you think? Please utilize the content area down below below the description to give me your thoughts in the commentary. I would appreciate that. Support obviously other independent creators, including the great Eric July, Sci-Fi for Me TV, and many other incredible channels that I'm subscribed to, and you should be too. Well, or the ones that you're subscribed to, do support in every way you can, including hitting like, subscribe, sharing out their content, and commenting, because engagement is incredibly important. And with that, be sure to take care of yourself, take care of others, wash your hands, of course, because it's good hygiene. And until next time, bye.
Thanks for visiting today. Be sure you're subscribed and hit that for alerts.
Yay!
Of course, like and share all of the videos that you can, as it helps with the algorithm. Have a great day.